Woo, we're live! We're recording!
I'm fucking half dead.
Yes, you was up super early.
4:30. I don't even have children
Why?
anymore. I do, but they're old now. They're grown up. I don't have little tiny children.
That shows where your head's at. I don't have kids anymore. That shows where your head's at. I don't have kids anymore. You're more akin to a fucking bird, you are. The minute they can fly, it's fuck off. Nothing to do with my mess.
Kick them out. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to name the guy because it's probably libelous. But where I used to live when I was a kid, I lived from when I was born until I was 18, 19. There's a lad lived next door. Well, about 20 years ago, I was in that little village. I was just walking around, just walking around, just the old place, see what it was like. And I saw my old neighbour. And at that point, how old was I? 20. I was 37, and he was about. He'd been 38. He was still living at home with his parents. Now I don't know about you, right? And he'd never left. So it's not like he'd got married and divorced and then had to move back because of financial circumstances. He'd never left home. Now, I don't know about you. And bearing in mind, he looked really fat and he had this long pedo hairstyle, There's just something fucking wrong about a man of 38 who's living at home with his parents still.
It screams
There's something
paedophile.
not right. I'd love to see his fucking Google history.
It screams paedophile.
It does. Maybe that's unfair, but we all know it's true.
It's not unfair. It's unfair on the fucking parents. If you're 38 living at home, you are bar medical conditions or extraneous external factors outside of your control, you fucked up.
There's something wrong, isn't there? There's something seriously fucking wrong.
I couldn't be friends with a 38-year-old who lived at home.
It's just creepy. I mean, and never mind that. It's just wrong. I mean, why would you want to live at home with your fucking parents at the age of 38? Fucking hell.
It's more typical in America, and it's more typical in places where there's basements, funnily enough.
I suppose, but even then, you're in an annex, aren't you? You might have a separate flat with a separate door to it.
Yes, self-contained.
That's kind of understandable, maybe. But this was just his old bedroom in his house. I'd say I'd love to see his fucking Google history in his browser.
His mum is still doing the washing, the cooking, the cleaning.
I know.
He's paying about 25 quid a week in rent.
And he was really fat as well.
Of course he was. John, I've never seen this cunt, but you've said he's 38, he lives at home, he's got long hair and he's fat. I know exactly what this man looks like. I've seen a million of them. I've seen him at my local paedophile support group.
We are such cunts, don't we? So, I mean, I can tell I can tell people are judgmental just by looking at them, Anyway, so I'm tired today. Going back to what we were saying before we started unfairly assassinating this guy's character.
No, it's fair.
Okay, whatever. Fair. I'm tired because I got up at 4:30 this morning because Mrs. EBG was going to the UK. And for reasons best known only to herself, she didn't want to stay at the Cork International last night. So I got up and I drove her to the airport. We left at 5:03, and it took me 34 minutes to get there. That's the fastest time I've done in 15 years because the roads were empty. I was back here by about, 6:20 or something?
Oh, bloody hell. You've done well.
Yeah, so I came back, I massaged my Achilles tendons, and I was out the door with the dogs by 7:15.
Lovely. Middle of the day for you.
Then I got back, I fed the dogs, I stretched my Achilles, as I always do, I had a cup of tea, and I sat down at my desk, and I thought, I'm so fucking tired, I feel like a zombie. But Well, here's the thing, you see, because walking the dogs on my own was quite tiring because I'm just absolutely knackered. But also, my Achilles are killing me. My hips ache because I need to do my yoga again. But that said, I was thinking this morning, because we've had this conversation just before we came on air, so we're not reading each other's minds. But I was thinking this morning about my original book here and how it could do with a revamp, and then why we would revamp it and what we would do with it. And I'm talking to Connor, and Connor's writing a document on ideas for the future of the business, probably 2023, Q1 onwards. We had the same idea independently about my book, which is fucking creepy because we haven't discussed it at all, have we?
No.
I mean, I know I've mentioned maybe updating it at some point, but only in passing, third edition. But we didn't discuss any of the details at all, other than me saying I was going to take up the Facebook advertising and digital advertising specifics because the platforms change every 5 minutes. So it's out of date before it goes to print. But the long-term strategy we had for it, we came to independently, which is fucking creepy. The thing is, we do this a lot, don't we, mate? We do this often.
So often it makes me believe in all of those nut jobs who believe we're all part of the same consciousness.
Oh, it's not that bad. But yeah, it's fucking eerie, crazy, though. Really.
It's eerie.
It's what?
But
it is eerie, yeah. It is.
But if we break it down, it's still surprising, but we can find some rationale because I've been reading your shit since I was fucking 15, 16 years of age.
I like to get them young.
You got me fucking super young. In fact, you gifted me my first pube to glue on. You was like, here, have this one. This will help the others grow.
I got you to pick it out your teeth, didn't
I? Yeah. It's like when gardeners, and I always find this funny because it shouldn't be funny, but it really makes me laugh because I've seen gardeners go, so it's a lovely courgette or something, you know, that's a good courgette plant, and they go, can I have some trimmings? And then the gardener goes, well, it's a good plant. They give them the cuts, and it just makes me laugh that they're just like handing over this foliage. And it's like, oh, they're so grateful for it. It's like, just come back after dark, steal the foliage and the courgette.
It's a real gift, isn't it? I must admit, I don't get gardening why anyone would do it, you know. Some people are so proud of their gardens. I was never happier than when Mrs. EBG said she wanted to turn the south lawn into a wild flower meadow. Fine. All that means is you just don't touch it, you know. Yeah. So
there's some interesting studies, though, and I do believe we're off track again, which we often do, that people who are clinically severely depressed, rather than pushing them towards religion, which is what used to be prescribed, they tested gardening, getting them to learn gardening and practice a daily habit of gardening, and it was just as effective as some of the drugs.
Makes a kind of sense.
I don't know why, but back to nature, maybe, because nature's massive. It sounds gooey, but
there's a lot to be said for being out in nature. I mean, I don't want anyone to take this. I don't want anyone to take this that I mean, oh, let's not take antidepressants because they're fucking necessary at times. And the people who say that they're rubbish and addictive and all you need is a positive outlook and to get out there and feel the grass under your feet, they're talking bollocks. This is brain chemistry we're talking about. That said, there's a lot to be said for regular exercise, sunshine, and getting out there. To, you know, wherever you are on the scale, it will probably lift your mood somewhat. I mean, sometimes you might need drugs to help you a little bit further, but it'll lift nearly everybody's mood. And I think there's a lot to be said for any kind of mindless activity.
Yeah,
you know, something where you are performing a physical activity, but you're not having to think too much. I like cycling. Some of my best thoughts come to me while I'm cycling because the regular turning of the pedals, and I don't get it so much in the barn. I mean, out on my bike, the regular turning of the pedals actually stimulates what we call theta waves in the brain, which are correlated with imagination and that kind of shit and creativity. And that's when I have my best thoughts. It's something you're almost in like a hypnotic trance, really. And I can spend an hour on my bike planning, say I've got a training to deliver. Not so much now because I use slides, but for instance, if I was doing a presentation without slides or like a teleseminar or something, I could plan the whole thing in my head when I'm cycling, and before I know it, I've been cycling for an hour. I've got this teleseminar planned, and I'm back home thinking, I don't remember doing any of this cycling ride. It's great, really. That's like walking. When I'm walking with Mrs. EBG, sometimes there's this constant fucking prattling in my ear, which is really irritating because I don't do small talk, not even with my own wife. That's just part of the autistic nature, really. But this morning, because it's just me and the dogs are so well behaved, I don't need to keep much of an eye on them. I was just thinking, that's when I was thinking about my book, because the books are really fucking huge for us, aren't they? Oh, they will be for anybody. I mean, they should be.
They are huge, and John, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to go into more detail about why books are so important, specifically writing your own book.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's the best sales tool you're ever going to have. I mean, your book isn't there to be the next J.K. Rowling or Roald Dahl or anyone. And you're not there really, unless you want to, but it's not really intended to be a textbook either. It's more the healthiest way to think about this is as a useful long copy sales letter. The idea being that, I mean, really the level you want to pitch it at is that the book gives people enough information, enough detail to solve the problem you're talking about without any further help if they're diligent enough. That's about where you want to pitch it. So if, like the welfare freelancer, for instance, if you follow the advice in that and do it religiously, you don't need anything else. I mean, other resources will help. Talking to me will help. Joining in a circle will help. The upsell at the end with the templates and the bumps, that will all help. And the bonuses will help. But if you just had the book and you followed it religiously, you probably get 80% of the benefit you'll get from anything else. It will solve your problem. The idea is there are three kinds of people. There are those who will solve their problem and go away happy, fine. There are those who will do a little bit and get some results. Okay, great. But then the ones we want were the ones who read the book, do something or nothing, it doesn't really matter, but will say, this is really fucking cool shit, I want more. That's why we do it. Because some people can't do it themselves, or they do it themselves and they get great results and they think, well, there must be much more even. And some, they think it's great, they want to do it, but they just don't have time, or the will, or the wherewithal to do it. And they want to pay someone to teach them or even do it for them. So that's why a book is so powerful. Now, anyone who sits down to read a book, I mean, there's a long list of things. I mean, not so much a downloadable one, but that does matter, but even a Kindle, so it matters, But a book reader, they are more intelligent for the most part because they read, They are studious, they're diligent, they tend to be serious and determined about what they're doing because they're educating themselves. They're invested often emotionally, intellectually, and sometimes financially too, and sometimes in terms of commitment, because maybe they've been on the website to buy a book from Amazon, actually had it delivered, or maybe they've been to the bookshop to buy it. Yeah, or sometimes it's a physical thing they're holding if you've given it to them. So they've taken time to study this, and they've not been distracted. They're not sitting on their computer like on social media with notifications coming in and maybe trying to multitask with Facebook. They are studious. They've been reading this thing. They're invested in so many ways. They are ideal buyers for future service. I'm one. I read a lot. I read hundreds of books every year, and I'm a bugger for buying shit. We just had the guy we were talking before we came on, who's just joined our inner circle, and he came through our book. He read the book. He read my emails. He wants more. He's just joined the inner circle. He bought the bump as well. Dropped 240 quid just like that. Guy last week dropped just under $1,000. Guy before that dropped about 600 quid. All came through a book. Yeah. Now compare and contrast that with the other end, because they're the most invested people. Maybe someone who comes to a seminar is a little bit more invested in the book reader because they've invested even more time, money, and energy. But often they'll have come to the seminar from a book.
Yeah.
Now imagine the other end of the scale, the kind of people you get, say, from social media. Now that, I mean, I'm always slagging off social media, but with good reason. So probably not always, in general, the worst kind of client is someone who's just seen a post of yours on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook and have decided to respond to it on a brain fart. They're not invested in it. They've read maybe a few words. They've just had to click and maybe type in the message. And as well as I do, most of the queries you get, they're just shit. They want something for nothing, or they're just kicking tires, which is why we have triage in the first place. Someone who comes to you from a book, something like this, they barely need triaging. Yeah. They've already decided they want to work with you. They just need to agree terms.
Yeah.
Really. Terms and conditions, and that's it. And when can you start? The kind of conversation you tend to have with someone who's read your books is, when can we start? Not what can you do for me and how much does it cost? Someone on Facebook, LinkedIn, other social media, it's always, how much do you charge? Almost the first question out of most people's mouths. Two ends of the spectrum. And it's always a choice which kind of person you're going to attract. And not only that, the very same person who might read a book, your book, and come to you saying, okay, when do we start? Where do I sign? If he or she comes to you through social media, they might be the tire kicker as well. Same person, different context, different behavior. I'm the same. I'm believe it or not, I'm actually a human being. And I've often, I never ask people how much something is straight off, other than that call we had that time when we knew we wanted it.
Well, we knew it was buying, yeah.
We knew we were buying it, but other than that, I never message someone and ask how much does that cost to decide whether or not to do it. That's, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't demean myself. But even I'm human. Even if I see something, say online, a blog post or a social media post when I was on there, even I'm superficially interested in it, and I'll just go away and think, well, that's interesting, give it some thought, and probably never think of it again. Whereas with a book, I can't. Dan Kennedy is probably the worst one for me. I've spent tens of thousands of pounds, probably 50 or 60 grand with Dan Kennedy, because I read his fucking book 15 years ago. 18 years ago.
Status hierarchies will always exist as long as humans have emotions and continue to try and achieve things. So you're going to approach an author who's written the fucking book on the thing very differently to some cunt on LinkedIn saying, I can, do your logo. You don't go to the designer of, say, I don't know, fucking Apple's logo, for example, and treat him the same as some twat on LinkedIn. You inherently don't. It's different behaviors, different intentions, because ultimately I believe everything is a commodity until the business owner gives a reason that their service, their thing, isn't a commodity. Definitely. And that's why we believe all businesses, from fucking people who make linen on boats to advertising agencies, have to be info marketers in some respect.
Definitely. Yeah. The thing is, another thing with the book is people are always going on about social media. I mean, it's efficient too. People say it's hard work, but think about this. Social media, people, imagine this is true. People say, well, you need to develop a relationship. You need to tell your story. But because it's got such a limited shelf life, you're having to say the same thing over and over and over again. This is why the same people, the same influencers, post the same usually made up bullshit about their tattoos and their gender identity and their sexuality. And I got stopped in the street and someone made a sexist comment. So I'm getting these crappy DMs and things. So a lot of it's made up. But even if it's not, they constantly have to rehash this message to get their entire personality across. They'd have to tell their story over and over and over again every day. Write a book, you tell it once. You then, your job, this book sells and markets me. Not particularly well, because it wasn't designed for that. That was a mistake on my part. Next edition will be better in that respect. But the book sells you. The book positions you. The book tells your entire story and says, if this is you, then get in touch. And your job then is just to get this into as many hands as possible. That's it. How much simpler is that? Even on social media, you can do it. Get my book. Get my book. If this is your problem and this is you, get my book. That's all you need to say over and over and over again. All the rest of it is irrelevant, because everything else, including about your tattoos and gender identity and sexuality, if you so choose, is all in there. I mean, there's a time and a place for that kind of thing. But I think right on the front end of your business.
So that's exactly it. We've following on from yesterday, that's the time for the strategic shit posting, the strategic shit stream to the people that have context, that have read your fucking book, that fully understand you, your morals, your values, exactly what you can do. Then you can shit post because they actually value your shit. Yeah.
No, look at my email.
Shit has value. A tramp shit doesn't have any value.
Absolutely. What would you pay for a scoop of the Queen's shit? Eh? A lot of money.
If the Queen doesn't shit, she'll die, and that's
Same as everybody else.
Another day.
I have to go in 2 minutes. I've got another call.
Well, that's perfect with me because I've got to go take my pre-workout before I go to the gym. Hence why I'm in this ridiculously red shirt.
You go to the gym? Yeah, cool. That's right. You were telling me yesterday you're trying to bulk, aren't you?
Look, I've got a chest. I fucking don't. I've got
just as you say that, I'll take a photo and send it to you because just as you say that, your video disappears.
Oh, God.
I can't see your video.
Picture.
You've disappeared.
Yeah. I was squeezing my tits.
Oh, lovely. Now, this is what a real gym rat looks like, you know.
Oh,
57.
Hey, leave me alone. The same thing happens to you, by the way. I can't see you. I can't see you. This is going on the membership site. I'm 3 months in. Leave me alone. In the last couple of months, I've put almost 3 kilos of muscle on. I'm hoping it's muscle anyway.
It's just constipation, mate.
Yeah, it's backed up shit. Anyway, John, we have a membership site. We have a book. Where do people go if they want to get more of this shit? Because there is exclusive stuff in the membership site, such as the ad critique John did.
If they want the book, it's wellfedfreelancer.com. That's where it starts. If you've got Well-Fed Freelancer, you will be sent to the Inner Circle site at the right time. I'm not sending people straight there. There's no point. So wellfedfreelancer.com. Pay attention to your emails that you'll get once you've got the book. And indeed, you get a login on the membership site anyway. And the upgrade is then obvious. So, all right, fella. Speak to you later.
All right. Peace and love, guys. Bye-bye.
Love you.